Hello everybody on YouTube, your boy the Memphis XLR8, welcoming you to our top 10 video on Yu-Gi-Oh! Cabin Fever, our January special show, funded by you, the family. Here on the YouTube, everyone sent in our deck requests, and you know what? It's time for us to judge our top 10 favorites. Now before we get started, I just want to mention, this was a really hard list to make, which is why, partly why it took as long as it was really hard to pick our favorites out of such a goated lineup of different decks, and I love them all. But these are the ones that stuck with me the most. So we're gonna go through all these. I'm give you my reasons for why these decks made the cut, and let's just get started. Starting off, we have ourselves number 10, the Descent of the Dark God. That's right, we had ourselves a Wicked Avatar deck fueled by the Horus engine that like to spam out a bunch of monsters as tribute fodder to summon out our giant bowling ball monster. Against certain decks, absolutely lethal. If it gets everything set up right, absolutely unstoppable against certain decks. Little bit one note, honestly, if it doesn't go for the Wicked Avatar, it's all the Horus action. So it's one of my favorites in terms of the themes of it, and I do love me some Wicked Avatar. But compared to some of the other decks on the top 10, not as much stuff that it does branching out, so to speak, but I love the style of it, and I love the feel of it. At number 9, we have Orbital Hydrolander Highlander 2026 edition. Now, a very nice thing we like to do on this channel every once in a while, it's very cool, is to play a Hydrolander deck, everybody at one to maximize efficiency. Now this year, we went a little bit differently. We went for more of an archetype to base everything around. We went with the Red Dragon Arc because there's a lot of new stuff with that, which made some of the plays a little one note, but there was some really cool synergies with the Red Dragon Arc Fiend that worked with Hydrolander that I felt was needing some praise there. Did need some praise. A very powerful deck despite everything being a one-off copy. Very, very cool. And I have to say, maybe appreciate Red Dragon Arc Fiend just a little bit more with everybody at one up. At number 8, we have the Ivory Dragon in the Lair of Darkness. Now this one has a big special place in my heart because when I was recommended to play this one, I didn't even remember who White Harm Dragon even was, because who even remembers that guy? But it's a really cool deck, you know, Lair of Darkness decks, always surprisingly versatile, that card. You wouldn't think so, but there's a lot of interesting stuff you can do with the Lair of Darkness, and combining that with our Ivory Horned Dragon was actually really neat. Now, we didn't unfortunately get to face off against the Sky Striker build that I was hoping we would get to fight up against, but the potential still exists, and I thought the deck was really cool. I know, honestly, just taking old monsters that everyone forgotten about and making whole decks around it, I think is a really cool thing to do. At number 7, we have Skill Difference. This is the highest scoring deck out of everything in Cabin Fever. Just a whole bunch of big numbers and a whole bunch of stopping my opponents, keeping things nice and simple, denying all combos and all the wombos in favor of our own. Very high powered deck, very simple, very straightforward, and I loved it. At number 6, might be a little controversial this one, is our Nordics, which of course we were just playing straight up Nordic deck. Now, this one had some of the most enjoyable duels we had of Cabin Fever. You know, a lot of back and forth, a lot of getting to see what the Nordics like to do. We got to sort of summon out like almost every Nordic synchro monster, all the good stuff. Got to do the hippo combo. What's not to love? You know, it did very well. We got to do everything we wanted to do with the deck. I would say the only problem with it is it just makes me thirst for more Nordic support. Still, we need more synchros and stuff, but I'd like to see the Nordics. And you know what? They did fantastical this year. So they definitely deserve a spot in the top 10 this year. So yes, Nordics, you guys deserve the number 6 spot. At number 5, we have Dragon Paleozoic, combining the versatility of Dragon Maids, as in summoning out Yugioh, and then combining them with the Paleozoics and all the crazy stuff they do, along with transaction rollback in order to reuse traps in our graveyard. A lot of stopping power for this one, a lot of cool combos and wombos, and honestly it could have gone even harder if we played different traps in our deck to facilitate more things with the transaction rollback. But as it stands, the deck worked phenomenally well. It did exactly what we wanted to do. And, you know, it gave us the service the Dragon Maids are known for. Absolutely. At number 4, we have Sophia Turbo. No clowning around. If there's one thing we love to do on this channel, it's summoning out lots and lots of monsters that are tricky to summon. Zushin, the Heracti, Sophia. And never before has it been so easy to summon out Sophia. The clown archetype makes summoning the girl pretty much trivial. In all honesty, it makes it kind of trivialized in a way. But it worked so fantastically well, so beautifully simple, and yet so utterly deadly. Has to go in the top 5, absolutely. So, Sophia Turbo, you have been trivialized. Now it's time to move on to making somebody else. We need to get some other giant big boss monster easy on the board. That'll be the next goal. At number 3, we have Kariballs. Now, everyone knows I love me some Karibos. They are the channel mascot for a good reason. And of course, seeing Karibos again for 2026 was inevitable. But it also had perfect timing, because our episode of Karibos perfectly coincided with the release of the full art multiplying Karibo over on Edo Pro. The time was perfect. And we got to do so many cool things with our Karibos. We Kariboed the heck out of people. The only trouble being that I was unaware of certain cards at the time. We could have gone even harder. So that's why I believe Karibos deserve the number 3 spot. The number 3 spot appropriate for Karibos. It's classical Karibos, meeting some of the newer Karibo cards, missing just a few little notes, unimportant, but at the same time, it makes me thirst for more Karibo domination. At number 2 of Yu-Gi-Oh! Cabin Fever, we have the Lonely Samurais. Everybody knows I love Highlander, but this one was a little bit different because we played all the 6 samurai spell traps we wanted, but each monster was at 1, and each 6 samurai was represented. Very important. And despite that limitation, and some might say inconsistency about it, the deck worked fantastically well. We were able to wombo and combo so hard despite the limitation on our 6 samurais. And you know what? It was beautiful. Absolutely stunning how well 6 samurais do, just how robust they are, even with everything at 1. Even with all of their monsters at 1. You know, spell traps aside, you know, Gateway's still at 1, it still counts. So 6 samurais, love to see the deck. It was beautifully done. And, you know, it just shows how good 6 samurais are and will always be. Heck, we also Yaras and Summon to Death. That's always worth a top 5 at least. Now, before we get into our top spot, of course, we need to make some honorable mentions. First honorable mention being to our boys, the Cloudians, who despite not winning any duels, they gave us some very enjoyable moments. You know, the potential existed for victory. It just didn't reach out as well as we had hoped it would. And also, our boy, the Thunderclap Skywolf, who honestly is not getting the top 10 this year because I dropped the ball on the deck. I could have done harder on that deck. And also the opponents we have are pretty mid and not as good. So it doesn't really deserve a top 10 in that respect. So yeah, and that's why Thunderclap doesn't make the top 10. Now, of course, y'all can probably guess what number 1 is, but I will tell you anyway, because that's the whole point of this video. For today, the top deck, in my opinion, of Yu-Gi-Oh! Cabin Fever 2026 has got to be Banish Fish. I would never think to say that, but yes, Banish Fish. It's not strictly Goaty, although we played a bunch of Goaties, that is true, but the deck revolved around the original Banish Fish stratagem. Abyss Spool and Fly Fang and all them good guys. You know, that was the idea of the deck, and somehow the deck not only worked, it worked beautifully well. We were able to banish our fishes over and over and over again, disrupt our opponent's flow, our strategy completely discombobulate and disorient the opponent, and that is what we wanted our deck to do. We got to summon out all of the fishes in all the seas, and my opponent, they didn't know what to do with themselves. And that is what, you know, it was that surprising factor, the fact that the Banished Fishes did so well for being such an unremarkable, downright just not as competent deck on first glance. And it did so well that it had to make the top. It just had to do it. Because, Lordy Almighty, I would never in 100 years say that I had a fun time playing Banished Fishes, but I had a great time playing Banished Fishes. And that will be it for our top 10 of Yu-Gi-Oh! Cabin Fever, everyone. Do let me know in the comments what your favorite deck from Cabin Fever was, whether it be one of the ones described today, or one of the ones that didn't get picked today. They were all winners in my heart, but I had to pick top 10. If only I could have been a top 30. Someone would have still wound up at the bottom, but either way. Thank you everybody much for watching as always, and I promise to you as well that when we do the top 10 Month of Madness, I'll get it out earlier. Because I can judge my own decks a lot harsher than I can judge y'all's. Because y'all's are beautiful and mine are mine. So, thank you again much for watching. Tune in next time for more Yu-Gi-Oh! Action. Until next time, you'll stay safe and stay happy. And y'all have a good one.